This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at mediaangels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hey everyone and welcome. This is Felice Gerwitz, and today we're going to talk about the best experiential gifts for your kids. This is episode 273, and you can find the show notes at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. And please follow me on all of the different apps have a place where you can follow or subscribe to this podcast. So do that for me, and also share it with a friend. That really helps us get the word out there. So thanks so much for that. And if you want our freebies, please subscribe to the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network e-zine, and you will be at the top of the list to get all of our freebies. And we've got some amazing printables for you. All right, well, let's look at this. It is graduation time, so as I record this, but this would work for birthdays, and it also works for the person who is the hardest to buy for. Do you have someone like that out there who is very difficult to buy a gift for? So I've learned that the best gifts are experiences because that's what the kids remember. My kids have talked about some of the best vacations we've taken, and we have not taken a lot of them because my husband is self-employed and he just does not do vacations well. And it took me over 30 years of being married to the man, maybe not quite that long, to realize that. But he is not one who likes to go on vacation, and he's a homebody. So while opening presents can be fun, often the glamour wears off and you forget about the gift. In fact, I remember in high school and then in college being asked to do this paper, and it was funny because my kids were both asked in college to write something similar. And like my topic in high school was, when I got what I wanted, it turned to dust, meaning that there might have been something I really wanted for a long time, and then when I finally got it, it wasn't as great as I thought. And for me, it was a camera. I loved taking pictures, and I remember my parents getting me this amazing camera, and it just was too complicated. It was way before the time of just put it on automatic, and while there was an automatic setting, when I looked through the finder, it seemed like it was always blurry. So it wasn't, they bought exactly what I told them to get me, but it wasn't what I wanted at the end. So I decided that my best memories as a kid were experiences. Like my dad owned a restaurant in Winter Haven, and so he would close different periods during the summer because as typical in Florida, restaurants do extremely well in the winter, and that kind of tied you over for the slower summer months. And my dad closed an entire month during the summer and in the month of July. So what we would do is, pick somewhere, and my dad often picked, didn't give us kids a whole lot of choice, but he liked to fish. So we would bring our boat and go places where he could put the boat in and fish, and I liked being out in the sun and reading. So for me, it was an ideal vacation because I got to bring my books and read. My mother also loved to read, and we both loved to sit in the sun or sit in the shade and enjoy the day, and we both loved being out in the water. So it was a win-win for our family, and those were my favorite vacation memories. And, it lasted with me into my teens and adulthood. So that's why I wanted to create this podcast and give you some ideas. And I want to thank our sponsor, Media Angels Membership. So for your curriculum needs on a budget, visit the website at mediaangelsmembership.com and learn how to receive all the books and classes you need to give your kids a Christian worldview. All right, here's the list. Are you ready? Number 1 is going to be a trip because, again, for me, that was the most memorable. And so The trip could be, something that would make a lasting memory, something that was rewarding, something that we had to plan for. And I'm going to give you my little cautionary advice here. I'm not a fan of allowing your teens to travel to far-off places alone. I'm just not. And I've had family members who have let their kids do this very successfully. But you hear so many horror stories, and there's actually this big push now that at some point I may do a podcast about it, about, like the free-range kids, and we've been helicopter parents, so now we're going to go to the other extreme, and I don't think there are homeschool moms out there that are helicopter parents, but we do care about our kids, and to me it's just trouble waiting to happen. So, while there's cheap flights and cheap hotels that lure tourists, visiting as a family is highly recommended. So if you're going to do that and plan to go to the islands or something like that, plan ahead and plan that as a family. But the first on my list is actually not an island beach vacation. The first on my list is hiking, because that's something we as a family have done and have really enjoyed it. Some of the things to do are to plan ahead, to check the weather, to know what trails you're going to hike. That has been amazing for us to plan that ahead. Because when we got there, I remember watching so many people just standing around not knowing where to begin, but we knew where to go. And just as a side note, my niece did this. She had planned the entire weekend, a couple of days before her wedding, as a way for the families to get to meet each other. And that was super fun. It was a little bit hard for me because I'm not used to these big, long hikes. And their extended family was very fit, and this is something they do a lot. But I super, super enjoyed it. And just coming back, we just took it a little bit slow. But they knew which trails to go on and things like that. And then just bring spray. I've used neem spray, NEEM. Just be careful. And I don't know what's in it. I guess neem oil. But that is one of the best bug repellents. It, of course, doesn't smell good, but it is non-toxic and not going to hurt you. But that's important. And I was, again, talking to another friend who just went off the trails camping, which is my second point on the list. And she was telling me about this campsite and camping. And she said it was absolutely gorgeous. It's in North Florida. But one of the things she told me was that they went off the trail and they were full of ticks. Not my idea of fun. So probably would not do the same trail, and I would stay on the path. But I know that part of the fun is being off the path. Wearing comfortable clothes is important. Bring food or snacks, take lots of pictures, and also bring a battery charger so that your phone doesn't die out. We're also happy to have our phones with us now as a safety precaution, but if everyone's phone dies out, that's not going to help. The second part is camping. Again, plan ahead. We have a couple of camping trips planned for the summer, and part of it is tied into my son's graduation present. And we are going to do some things there that we normally wouldn't do. For example, renting canoes and possibly doing some whitewater activities. They will do it. I will watch. But then again, that's also a really fun thing to do. Another is, for those who like to go off the beaten trail or to camp at the beach. There's a place called Fort DeSoto that we really like. And we are going to reserve some spots, and the only time that it is available for us is that we're able to fit into our schedule is the first week of August, which ties in with my anniversary and my one son's birthday. So again, experiential trips are so much fun. Another is the beach. You can rent beach houses or condos for a fraction of what the other costs are. So you would want to look into that and see if that's available. You can do a one-day trip if you live close enough, or you can rent a house or a condo and enjoy a couple of days there. Again, something to do ahead of time. Bring lots of sunscreen. We have just seen people sitting on the beach from up north that are just burnt. So whereas, sunscreen has to be applied often, even if it says it's all day sunscreen, I would apply it often because you don't want to get burnt or wear a hat. I've got a few more things I want to share with you when we come back, but I'm going to take a really quick commercial break here, and when we come back, I'll share more with you. Hey everyone, Felice Gerwitz here, and I want to share with you something that is dear to my heart, and that is saving you money. Can you use encouragement for your homeschool journey? Have you been searching for an online learning program designed to ground your family in a Christian worldview? Well, now you can at MediaAngelsMembership.com. Our affordable membership packages fit your budget and busy life. Now you can access customized membership packages for your homeschooling family from the extensive Media Angels library of books, classes, and Bible studies. You may select the ebook bundle, the creation bundle, the premium bundle, or the forever bundle. Each bundled set will save you vast amounts of money. Our packages begin at less than $10, and you can use it for the whole family. So go to MediaAngelsMembership.com for more information. That's MediaAngelsMembership.com. You'll be glad you did. Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is Felice Gerwitz with the best experiential gifts, episode 273, where you can find the show notes at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. And remember to subscribe to this podcast and those others that are on the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. All right, another one is, and this is my son's edition, extreme sports. So, I don't even know if there's bungee jumping anymore, but that's something that he's always thought would be fun to do, not me. Whitewater rafting is my idea of enough extreme sports. Parasailing, I'm going to do a little cravat here. We were going to do that at one point with my kids, and then I really started researching it and deciding it was way too unsafe. And then another is hot air balloons. So if you're into extreme sports, that's all I've got for you. You're going to have to come up with your own list, but I gave you that category when we're still under trips. And then the other are trips either within the States or to Europe. So within the States, some of the memories that my kids have loved are state fairs, the rodeo. They still talk about going to the rodeo. In fact, my daughter went to a rodeo after my niece's wedding. There was one in town, and then after that, she said there was country music dancing. So that was really fun for her. And she went with all of her cousins. Another is Williamsburg. That was a family trip we really, really enjoyed. And it was hard to get my husband out of there because as a builder, he was fascinated by the way that they put things together back then. And then one that is my least favorite on the list, and that is theme parks, although we have had the theme park subscription or, tickets for that for a year as Florida residents. We can sometimes get them for a fraction of the cost. It is now prohibitive for my family. There are too many of us. But if you have a smaller family or you're giving that as a gift, that might work within your budget. And then European deals, and I'm going to put a couple of podcasts here that I did for both states in Europe with Meredith Curtis, and those are on Vintage Homeschool Moms. And also there's a great podcast by Kim Kausser, shout out to Kim with Right Shop, and she did a podcast on packing. We were at an event together, and our mastermind retreat this year, and there she was with one suitcase. I was coming with like a ton of stuff. Okay, so I drove, and she didn't, but still, it was amazing to me that she could come with one suitcase. So I had her create a podcast for you guys with me right there, and she did that. So that's awesome for any trips that you're planning. All right, number 2. I know number 1 was planning a trip. Number 2 is staycations, and that can be an event. So whether it is a party that you're hosting that is unforgettable, and I remember having a party from morning till late evening. that can be super fun, and the whole family can come, or you can invite friends, and it really is an all-day celebration. Again, you'll want to plan that because there's going to be quite a few meals. You may want to have pizza delivered for one of them, but that can be super fun. The second is a family camp out, and you can do that in your own home. So I remember one time we were supposed to go on a camp out, and it was pouring down rain, and rain was predicted for all weekend. So instead of going and getting soaked and coming home and having to air out stuff, we decided to all camp in our living room. So we did that, and that was one of the kids' fun memories. And we had a smaller tent at one time, and we even popped that up for the kids to sleep in. Again, super fun. Town events. How many things go on in your town that you don't know about? And that could be a wonderful experiential gift. So one year we found out about a hot balloon. It was almost like a convention. There were so many of them, and we went at 6 a.m. before they lifted off, and it was one of those amazing memories. So if you're not up to traveling in a hot balloon, or the cost may be too much, just even experiencing where hot balloons are and when they are going up is a super fun thing. Another thing is we have a lot of local events that happen here, and one of them is a sand castle creation type of event, and that's really fun. We also have boat races. Again, you want to look at that plan way ahead because they can be really crowded and something you may not want to do with little kids, but would be fun to do with older kids. When I was growing up, a staycation that my dad took us on that I still remember is watching one of the, okay, now I'm going to tell you how old I am, but one of the Apollo rockets launching. And we got to go fairly near where the launch was. And thankfully, we did get to see it launch, because a lot of times the launch date is not the date because of weather. And we got to sit there with my family in lawn chairs and get to watch a rocket launch. And how amazing is that? Again, it's one of those little vacations that could be a day vacation. And it was Titusville was not that far from my home at the time. The third thing is lessons. So whether it is a art class or a cooking class or tennis lessons or sports training, that could be an experiential gift. And so that the reason I put sports training in there was during the summer last year, a friend of mine was starting a coaching business, and he's a football coach. So shout out to Andrew Layton. And he did a phenomenal job coaching, and he seemed like he had a heart for kids. So I asked him about, softball and baseball players, and he said he could do some conditioning with them. So I asked if he would, he'd cut me a deal, and I purchased 3 lessons for the 2 kids. And at first, my daughter was not a happy camper, but by the end, she was, because she could see how she was improving. And when she went back to college this year, she was way ahead of all the other girls with her training. So for Christmas time, she asked me if I would get her sports training lessons, or, I would purchase some training sessions so that she could do that during her Christmas break. So, that was something she wanted, and she, truthfully said, "Mom, there's not a whole lot I want." So other than buying her a decent duffel bag, because she had one that was falling apart, the inside, when all the inside pockets or the outside pockets become inside, everything you put in it goes in the middle of your duffel. It's time to get a new one. So she had been doing a lot of traveling at that point with softball, so it was time for a new one. So other than some other things like that, that was something I could purchase and give her as an experiential gift. One more thing I wanted to add to the staycation, I forgot about this one, and I remembered it when I was talking about Annie, is one of the things that she wanted was a hammock. And we ended up getting one that fit in a bag, and that was awesome. And it also had this pop-up, it was, you could either tie it to a tree or have it, just out in the backyard. And I tell you what, she used that thing so much. And so that could be something else that's a staycation, experiential kind of a gift, just how often do you get to go hang in a hammock? And conversely, as we were walking along campus of one of the colleges that we toured, I was surprised at how many hammocks were out there in between the trees on this one side of the lawn at this one college. So college kids really do like hammocks. So if you've got one that you're thinking about buying something for that may be a difficult one to purchase a gift for, this might be something that would be that would fit in with the experiential part of the gift. And if you have something that I have failed to mention, please leave me a comment at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. Look for the best experiential gifts podcast, episode 273, and leave me your comment there. And then also follow me and subscribe on iTunes, on Google Play, or on any of your podcast apps, and give me a star rating. I'm going to be saying that a lot because it's very difficult for me to ask for anything. If you listen to my past podcast on Mother's Day gifts, it's very difficult for me to accept a gift. And every time you subscribe to a podcast that I host, that is like giving me a gift. So I really appreciate it. And also have another podcast, A Few Minutes with God podcast.com, that you may want to visit for some other types of podcasts that are more in the Christian arena. Oh, well, thanks so much for listening. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and thevintagehomeschoolmoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.